Hello. There's been a bit of discussion recently about a school in Lancashire. Anger as head teacher introduces meat-free lunch menu and asks parents to cut meat-packed lunches. A Lancashire primary school has received a number of complaints after it banned meat from its lunch menu. As a matter of fact, it's worse than that, because as it turns out, meat has been banned from the menu for a year and the principal teacher, didn't tell anyone about it. She finally came out with it, I think, when some kids were complaining to their parents about the disgusting sausages or whatever, and the parents asked. Barrowford Primary School near Nelson now provides its pupils with vegetarian dinners, and they are also asked to reduce the amount of meat and avoid it if bringing in packed lunches. Parents only became aware of this change earlier this week through a letter, despite the lunchtime options being brought in last year. Head teacher Rachel Tomlinson said the school swapped to meat-free meals in a bid to educate children about the environmental impact of eating meat, but the policy has outraged some parents. OK, now somebody here says it's probably saving on food costs. Actually, in many cases, vegetarian food is more expensive than cheap meat. And let's talk about saving the planet. Apparently, it turns out that vegetarian meals aren't as ecologically correct as all that. And you can make an argument for meat using a lot less resources, mainly because, for instance, sheep live on the sort of land, generally speaking, where you can't grow anything else. But apart from that, meat tends to be more local, and so that means that you're not shipping stuff the distances, whereas, for instance, soy is not grown in this country, or very little of it is, and most of it is imported. As are other vegetarian dishes of various sorts. Quinoa, for instance, that comes from South America. And by the way, the fact that it's become fashionable among the wokerati here in Britain means that it's become very expensive in South America, where it used to be the major source of protein for poor people who can now no longer afford it. No, there's a lot about vegetarian that is not so good as it's cracked up to be. But I had another thought, you see, and I just wondered, I thought I'd do a little bit of, digging around, and I looked at Barrowford School. Yeah, Barrowford Primary School. And I was interested in how many Muslim students or pupils there were in there. Well, it didn't say. It's a school that has a capacity of 420 pupils, and there are 345 pupils in the school, with 27% of them eligible for free school meals. That's a fairly high proportion, really. It means there are quite a few quite poor people there. Now, the point has been made that vegetarian food is fine so long as you take the proper supplements. But these kids are obviously not going to be getting the proper supplements. And for the past year, none of them has been getting the proper supplements. So that's bad as well. Why would the teacher have hidden this from the public? Well, I have a few ideas. I'm just speculating here, but I couldn't see how many Muslim pupils there were, but I could see how many Muslims there were in the area where the school is situated. And we have here Nelson, 57.8%, so 58% white British, and 40.4% Asian, which means Pakistani Muslim, probably. And there are small amounts of other groups, but nothing significant. Right, but of those who identify as being of a certain faith, in Nelson, Christians 39% and Muslims 37%, which means that even though the Muslims are somewhat less than half of the population, the ones who identify as Muslim, there are far more numerous, so there are about the same as the Christians, which would cause some sort of attention in certain areas, I believe. And then I'm looking at the town council. The town council has 21 councillors, and 14 of them have Muslim names, even though there are fewer Asians in that town than white British. I shall scroll the names up here at the side. And it occurred to me that one of the reasons, or maybe the principal reason, it's a possibility anyway, of the principal, Rachel Tomlinson, doesn't really like the idea of halal slaughter. I don't like the idea of halal slaughter. Kosher slaughter is pretty awful because the kosher process, although the animal is killed straight away by being practically beheaded, it is not allowed to be anaesthetised before that. So that's a problem. I see that as a problem. Now, but in halal, it's worse, because not only is the animal not allowed to be anaesthetised, it is not beheaded, it is bled out. The throat is cut, but it's bled out. And I have a great deal of objection to that. And it's quite possible that so does Miss Tomlinson. But she couldn't say so. Look at the number of Muslims in her town. Look what happened to teachers who go against the Muslim creed. And also look at the number of Muslim town councillors there are. And they could get her sacked like that, couldn't they? So what she's done is she's gone vegetarian, which saves her conscience. That's what I'm speculating might have been happening. And of course, she was, well, I don't know how she thought that was going to stay a secret, but it did for a year. But yeah, that's my belief. And I think that's rather an unpleasant idea. Now, many schools in Britain serve halal meat as a matter of course to the pupils. For the small proportion, in some cases, of Muslims who are attending that school, they just do it. Oh, they think that's terribly politically correct and culturally sensitive and all the rest of it. No, look, if the Muslims want to eat halal meat, that's their prerogative. I wouldn't dream of stopping them, but they should bring their own lunches. This should not be something in which the other people who aren't that bothered about halal meat should be forced to participate. Well, Miss Tomlinson has found one way round it, I suppose, but I don't think it's a very good way. I don't think it's very healthy for the pupils, especially considering the level of income that it seems some of them have, which is not good. Nearly 30% of them are so financially strapped that they have to apply for public assistance to feed their children. That's pretty bad, isn't it? All right, well, I'm Granny Opterix. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter, Gab and Parler, and that's where I upload information about my videos. So if you don't get the subscription notifications for instance, from YouTube, if you subscribe to Twitter, Gab or Parler, you'll get the notifications there. Yeah, like, share and subscribe, and see you next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.